Today's episode is brought to you by the Tax Defense Group. Did you know that in order to get your stimulus check, you had to have filed your taxes for the 2018 or 2019 tax year? If you haven't filed for 2018 or 2019, there's good news. The Tax Defense Group can rush e-file your taxes. They know that millions of Americans are struggling, and they want to make sure that you get your stimulus check sooner rather than later. Call the Tax Defense Group today at 800-850-7973 to get started. That number again is 800-850-7973, and you can visit them online at thetaxdefensegroup.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Writer Junkie. Due to the global pandemic and economic downturn, Writer Junkie is offering their resume writing service for only $100. And with a 3-day turnaround, you can't beat that price and delivery time. Call Writer Junkie today at 805-587-7966, and you can visit them online at writerjunkie.com. Mention that you saw this ad on UCast Studios, and they'll get right to work. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Lakers Outsiders Weekly Podcast, brought to you by UCast Studios. I'm your host, Gary Kester, here with you as always. And today I'm going to be talking about a topic that I've seen kind of floating around here lately on Twitter. And it's something that, I don't know, kind of bugs me a little bit. And something I wanted to discuss and just share my thoughts on. I'm by myself today, so I don't know how long this pod will be. I don't think it'll be overly long, but I feel like every time I say that, it ends up going about 25, 30 minutes, which is kind of what I shoot for. So we'll have to just kind of see. But the topic I've seen kind of floating around is with everything that's going on in the world, and especially in America, but it is happening all over the world. Sports are shut down right now. Sports are shut down, and for the NBA and for the Lakers, that is it's mid-season, middle of the season. Well, towards the later part of the season, but right in the middle of the regular season, games have stopped. So there's been this talk about should there be an asterisk next to this year's world champion, and I'm going to talk about that here in a second, kind of share some of my thoughts on that, but before I do that, as always, guys, if you're listening to this on YouTube, be sure to like this video and subscribe to UCast Studios and Lakers Outsiders on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, all those major podcast platforms. And you can follow Lakers Outsiders on Twitter at Lakers Outsiders, same with Instagram, and you can like us on Facebook. And then, of course, you can get all of our content on LakersOutsiders.com. And you can follow me personally on Twitter at Gary Kester. That's at GaryKester. So, I mentioned the topic of this podcast, and it's the only topic I'm going to talk about, but should there be an asterisk next to this year's NBA champion? Let me know what you guys think. If you're listening to this on YouTube, let me know in the comments. I want to hear what you guys think. I know this is a topic that a lot of people seem to have mixed opinions about, and it's a pretty interesting debate to have. Personally, I lean one way. Maybe this is my Laker bias, but if the Lakers were to win, really, if anybody were to win, I would say no. I don't think there should be an asterisk next to this year's champion, especially if the Lakers win this year's NBA championship. And I feel the same way, basically each reason that I'm going to lay out here, I feel the same way with like the Bucks. The main reason I think you shouldn't put an asterisk next to, let's say the Lakers win the championship. Most of these I'm going to be talking about if the Lakers win the championship, because this is a Laker podcast and for a Laker site. So if the Lakers win the championship, there shouldn't be an asterisk because, A, we haven't put an asterisk next to the other kind of oddball seasons in NBA history, right? Like, we've had in pretty recent history, last, 20 years or so, we've had 2 lockout-shortened seasons. The 1998-1999 NBA season was 50 games long, the regular season. 50. 32 games shorter. I mean, that's a huge chunk of games missing. And yet, there was, I haven't seen talk of that. I guess I have. I have seen a little bit of talk, but it mostly comes from Laker fans because we hate the Spurs. But, there's not an asterisk next to the Spurs name for their 1999 NBA championship where they beat the Knicks, the 8-seeded Knicks in the NBA Finals. Not to mention, back then, the first round was only a best of 5. Should we put an asterisk next to all those years that a team won a first round series best of 5 instead of best of 7, which is what it is now? I don't think so. The Spurs mowed through the Western Conference that year, beat Minnesota 3-1 in the first round, swept the Lakers in the second round, swept Portland in the conference finals, and then won in 5 games against the Knicks. Was it an oddball season? Absolutely. You played 50 games and not 82. That's a little strange. And, as a result, weird things happen, like the 8-seeded Knicks getting to the NBA Finals. The Knicks getting to the NBA Finals at all is weird. But when they're the 8 seed, they were 27-23. The 8 seed in the West was 25-25. So, if we're not putting an asterisk next to a season like that, or the 2011-2012 season that was 66 games long, started on Christmas Day, that saw the Miami Heat beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, there's no asterisk next to those. So why would there be one for this? And here's the thing. If this NBA season was, 40 games, 50 games, whatever, it was about that long, then maybe I could understand it, because then you're leaving out a big chunk of games. But when you're looking at the current standings and looking at how many games these teams have played, the Bucks, the 1 seed in the East, have played 65 of their 82 games. They have a 6.5 game lead on the 2nd seed. Like, they were probably, a week, 2 weeks from clinching home court advantage in the Eastern Conference? They were narrowly ahead of the Lakers by about 2 games. And the Lakers, on the other side, had a 5.5 game lead, 6 up in the loss column on the Clippers, who they had just beaten. They had just beaten the Clippers and the Bucks. So the Lakers themselves were probably in a pretty similar boat. Maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks away from locking up home court advantage in the Western Conference playoffs. So, no, it's not like a situation like that 98-99 season, which, by the way, as we've seen with The Last Dance and everything, how dominant that Bulls team was, and with Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Phil Jackson, all those guys. How dominant that team was. That came also the year after Michael Jordan retired again, and Phil Jackson was done with the Bulls. Basically, that dynasty broke apart. And then the Spurs win a 50-game shortened season right after that. Who knows what happens if the Bulls are smart and they keep Phil, which probably keeps Jordan there, and they keep that core group in place. Who knows how that season unfolds? Do the Spurs get that title? Maybe. Maybe not. But this season, the Lakers have played 63 of their 82 games. The Bucks have played 65 of their 82 games. Everybody's over that 60-game threshold. That's at least over 3/4 of the season has been played. Like, we have a pretty good idea of who is who at that point. Is it missing, a fairly significant amount of games? Yeah. In the Bucks case, you're missing, 17 of 82? That's a pretty good chunk. In the Lakers case, it's 19 of the 82. It's a good chunk of games, for sure. But it's not like playing 50. Like, the Lakers and Bucks, for example, have such a massive lead over the number 2 spot in each conference. We know who those teams are. It's not a situation where if they had those leads with 32 games left, going off of the 50-game mark that we saw in 98 and 99, that's a little bit of a different discussion. But when they're a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks away from locking up home court and then just coasting to game 82, just trying to stay healthy, rest guys. I mean, maybe the Lakers and Bucks try and battle each other out to get home court in the NBA Finals. Who knows? I mean, but they're probably going to you're going to see a lot of load management nights, assuming everything, would have gone on like normal. It's just, that's, to me, is different. It's more comparable to the 2011-2012 season where teams played 66 games. It was a more compact schedule. This was 63 to 65 games or so on a normal schedule. And then play just suddenly halted. Whereas the 2011-2012 NBA season, you had teams playing back-to-back-to-backs. You had just a really crammed 66-game schedule basically into, 4 months? Because you started on Christmas Day. Regular season ended in April. So, no. I mean, I know I'm kind of rambling here, but if you're not going to put asterisks on those seasons, especially that Spurs season, that's 50 games long, coming the year after the Bulls dynasty basically rips itself apart, destroys itself from within, you can't put an asterisk on this NBA season. Especially if the Lakers or the Bucks or even like the Clippers. The Clippers are 5.5 games back, but the Clippers, Lakers, and Bucks, in whatever order, are the 3 best teams in the league, and after that, there's a drop-off. So, especially if one of those 3 wins, and I would assume if the NBA season resumes, and it sounds like it's going to, or they're at least going to try, if it's one of those 3 teams, I can't justify putting an asterisk next to any of those 3 teams. Now, maybe we get a weird scenario where one of these other teams that unexpectedly gets hot after this long break. Maybe certain guys are out of shape. Teams get rusty. Whatever. The long layoff messes with some teams. I don't know. Or other teams get healthy, like the Brooklyn Nets, for example. What if they get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving back? And, they get the Raptors in the first round, and they beat the Raptors, and they go on this run. Or whoever gets healthy and goes on a run and benefits from this. Do you put an asterisk next to it then? Maybe. But ultimately, my thing with this is a lot of these teams are dealing with the same circumstances. For me, an asterisk is like for athletes or teams or whatever that cheated to win. The Houston Astros, Boston Red Sox here recently. Sorry, Dodger fans. But yeah. You want to put an asterisk next to those 2 titles? I'm for that. They deliberately went out of their way to cheat. To win. I mean, it worked. But they also got caught. So, in the Astros case especially, who knows? The numbers for that series are pretty staggering. The home and away splits in that series. So, yeah, you want to put an asterisk next to something like that, that's fine. But this is a case where the entire league is going through the same thing. It's not like this is giving a leg up to one particular team over the rest of the field, like we saw with the Astros and the Red Sox, where they're they found a way to gain an advantage that cheats the rules of the game. That's not the case here. It's a shorter NBA season for sure, but it's been shorter for everybody. That's why I don't agree with putting an asterisk next to the Spurs name in 1999, even though I hate the Spurs, and I might jokingly say that that they should. But the entire league had to go through the same thing. It's a shorter season, sure, but it's what the league had to do. 2011-2012, they played 66 games instead of 82. Playoffs were still full. 66 games to me is enough to separate the good teams from the bad teams and all that. And, the rightful champion was crowned. And that year, Miami was the most loaded team. That was when they had the big three coming off the loss to the Mavericks in the previous NBA Finals. That team was just different. I know they weren't the top seed, but I don't know really what to say about that. The rightful champion won, especially that year. The Spurs, a little more of a weird season, but they won. Plain and simple. They didn't cheat. The entire league was going through it, and they won. Plain and simple. So if that happens again this year, whoever wins, assuming we get to actually crown a champion, I'm good with whatever. I don't think you should put an asterisk next to any team. So one more point that I'm going to bring up why you shouldn't put an asterisk next to this year's NBA champion, assuming we get one, and especially if it's the Lakers or the Bucks. But before I get to that point, I'm going to give you guys a quick message from our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by the Tax Defense Group. Did you know that in order to get your stimulus check, you had to have filed your taxes for the 2018 or 2019 tax year? If you haven't filed for 2018 or 2019, there's good news. The Tax Defense Group can rush e-file your taxes. They know that millions of Americans are struggling, and they want to make sure that you get your stimulus check sooner rather than later. Call the Tax Defense Group today at 800-850-7973 to get started. That number again is 800-850-7973, and you can visit them online at thetaxdefensegroup.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Writer Junkie. Due to the global pandemic and economic downturn, Writer Junkie is offering their resume writing service for only $100. And with a 3-day turnaround, you can't beat that price and delivery time. Call Writer Junkie today at 805-587-7966, and you can visit them online at writerjunkie.com. Mention that you saw this ad on UCast Studios, and they'll get right to work. Okay, so I have one more point to talk about, or to share, regarding this whole, should this year's NBA champion get an asterisk next to their name because of the long layoff right in the middle of the season. I don't know first of all, it's really hard to say because we don't know what the plan is moving forward. We know that the NBA would like to resume the season. We know that the players, especially the superstar players, I think there was a long list of them. I think it was like LeBron, Chris Paul, Steph Curry. A number of star players were really kind of gathering and pushing to resume this season, which good on Steph Curry, by the way. His team is done and out of it, and they're looking ahead to the lottery and trying to get the number one pick, but still pushing. Obviously, the financial repercussions of not resuming and not having a playoffs of any capacity is financially just immensely damaging to the league. So obviously there's a big financial aspect of it, but we just don't know what the plan is going forward. We've heard some talks about how they could just scrap the rest of the regular season and just start the playoffs with the current standings. That's what I would do personally. If you want to try and minimize the window as much as you can and try and minimize the risk, play less, the least amount of games as you possibly can while finding a way to crown a champion, and do it, not totally out of out of the norm of your playoff format, I think you should just start the playoffs. But that's just me. So we don't know if that's what they're going to do, or if they're going to try and finish out the regular season or play 70 games, whatever it is. We just don't know. Everything's up in the air right now, but we do know that they at least want to play the playoffs. But another reason that if the Lakers or the Bucks won, or any of these other top seeds, I guess. But if they won an NBA championship this year, let's say they just come back and they resume the playoffs with the current standings, and they go through with this idea that we've seen a lot, where teams are basically centralized, Western Conference teams play in one location, Eastern Conference teams play in one location, and then I don't know where they would play the NBA Finals, but basically they're playing in a centralized location for each conference with no fans in attendance. This lockdown or hiatus, whatever you want to call it, that we're seeing with sports and especially the NBA really, really hurts the Lakers in a big way, because everybody gets this time off, right? So everybody gets this time off to rest, recover, get healthy, whatever. That benefits the Lakers because the Lakers have some older players on their team. They have a lot of veterans. But the Lakers and the Bucks fought hard to get home court advantage in the playoffs. And that's going to go completely out the window in any case. Like, we're not going to get a normal home court advantage in any capacity if play resumes and we get an NBA playoffs this year. So those two teams especially, but you can make the argument for whoever was going to have home court in the first round or the first two rounds in the playoffs. That's gone. So why would we put an asterisk next to, say the Lakers win the championship, why would we put an asterisk next to their name when all it did was make things more difficult? Other teams were dealing with injuries at the time that this happened. Sure, the rest is probably good for LeBron, guys like LeBron, Avery Bradley, these veteran players, older players on the Lakers. But wasn't Paul George dealing with an injury? I think the Clippers were dealing with a couple injuries. There was a few teams dealing with injuries that now they'll get guys back and healthy. So if anything, it's made this more difficult on the Lakers and the Bucks, teams that thought, hey, we're going to have home court all the way at least to the finals. And now that's gone. Now everything's a neutral site, coming off a long layoff. If anything, it really levels the playing field. So I don't see why you would put an asterisk next to a Laker championship this year when all this lockdown did was make it more difficult for them. And I know some of you are going to say, oh, well, it allowed their older roster to rest up and get healthy and, all that stuff. But everybody got that advantage. Everybody, if they played this year's NBA playoffs, got that same exact advantage. So, you can't use that as a reason to claim this as like a tainted title if the Lakers do go on to win it all. Like, it got harder for them because they didn't get the home court advantage they rightfully were going to win and earn and have, the first two games of every single series at home. And possibly have 4 home games in a series if it came down to Game 7. And if it comes down to Game 7 now, it's in a neutral site. There's no fans. There's none of that energy, that buzz, that atmosphere to feed off of. Now it's just pick up basketball in an empty gym playing for an NBA title. Is it weird? Absolutely. We may never see anything like this ever again. Should it be a tainted title or have an asterisk next to the team's name that wins the title this year? No. I don't care if a 6th seed goes on a run and wins. I don't think there should be an asterisk next to somebody that wins on the same playing field or court, whatever, as everybody else. They all played roughly the same amount of games. They all had a long layoff, and they're all going to play the playoffs in an empty gym. So it's not giving anybody an advantage. I would say for the Lakers and the Bucks, it just prevented the advantage that they were going to have with a home court. So that's my take on it. Again, guys, let me know in YouTube comments what you think. Should there be an asterisk if a team win or whoever wins a title in the NBA this year? Is it tainted a little bit? I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Again, be sure to like this video and subscribe to UCast Studios on Lakers Outsiders on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Just be sure to subscribe. Got these coming out for you every week or sometimes twice a week if I fall behind a little bit. But, yeah. Let me know. Let me know what you think. I say no. And I gave you my reasoning for it. And if you disagree, that's totally fine. Let me know. I'd love to discuss it. I think it's an interesting topic and one I would like to discuss. Like I said, you can hit me up on Twitter at Gary Kester. You can tweet at Lakers Outsiders as well and follow us on Twitter, just at Lakers Outsiders, and on Instagram as well. Like us on Facebook, and you can get all of our content on LakersOutsiders.com. So I'm going to get out of here. Again, let me know what you guys think. I appreciate you listening. And until next time, this is Gary Kester with the Lakers Outsiders, signing off.